Good morning and welcome to another edition of Money Truth Moments. I am your host, Carlos, and I am here with our very own Judy Copenbarger. Good morning, Judy. How are you?
I am well, Carlos. Thank you. How are you doing?
It's Tuesday morning. It's our show time. I'm fantastic. I always look forward to just a great show, learning a lot of great wisdom. It's my Tuesday morning educational moment, and I'm sure a lot of folks can relate to that too. So, folks, thank you for joining us this morning. If you are not following Judy or you're new to the show, welcome. Please make sure that you go to her website at judycopenbarger.com. All of her social media resources are available there. And we're going to talk about her website a little bit later on in the show so you know what great content is available for you. And let me just tell you a little secret. It is free. So, hey, just stick around for that too. So, hey, it's Tuesday morning. I am pumped up about the beginning of this new series called Creating Money Reverence. And I'm sure we have a lot to cover, so I don't want to waste any time. What do you say we get started?
I am ready to go. Let's do it.
All right, so let's start with the actual basic question. What is creating money reverence? What is that?
Well, what reverent means is having a great deal of respect for something, honoring something, putting it in its rightful place. You know, when you respect someone or you respect something, it's like, when you see a bee in the garden, you respect it. It's busy, it's doing something, it's a valuable tool, it's working, and you respect it, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're on a very high bridge, a bridge over a beautiful lake or a beautiful water, you respect the bridge, you honor it. You don't have to necessarily be engaged with it, but you respect it, right? You don't want to do something, crazy around it. But when you respect someone, you admire them for their qualities. You admire them for their achievements. You admire them for what they can do and the value that they bring to your life, right? So it's the same. When you have money reverence, you're honoring and respecting your money and using it in the right ways.
Okay, so let me follow up with something else. So as we're talking about creating this money reverence, I've heard you mention also that it's honoring the power of money. Mm-hmm. But it's not the power over you, but it's the power under you. Can you elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's something that uplifts you. Just think about relationships you have. You can have a relationship with money, right? Just like you have a relationship with your relatives, good, bad, and ugly, your friends,
right,
that you work with. You have a relationship with money, the same. So if you choose relationships that make your life better, that feels good, right? It feels like it propels you to get where you want to go. When you have relationships that kind of ball and chain, drag you down, it doesn't work. Life doesn't work. So money relationship could be the same way. You want something uplifting. You want to think about abundance. You want to think about having enough and what a joy it is to use money. So when it's time for the house payment, the mortgage payment, or your rent payment to be due, it's like, oh, I got to pay this money. What about I get to pay this money because I get to live here. I get to be in this beautiful place where I'm safe and I'm warm and my home is here. My family is here. It's a mindset, right?
Yes.
So that's what I mean by money reverence. It's putting it in its rightful place, using it with an attitude of joy, humility, gratefulness, abundance, instead of drudgery and fear and regret and shame. Right? That's all.
You hit on a very important subject, and it's a word, and it's mindset. Like even just the way you just said that about looking at it from that perspective, it's huge, right? Yeah. Because if we can apply that to everything in our lives, just think how much better our daily lives would be, right? Yeah. Just by switching that around. It's so true. So as we're talking a little bit about this too, talk to us about how to exercise that money reverence, right? It's usually, I've heard you say it's usually delegating, but tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, there are several areas of activity, several areas of behaviors when it comes to money. So there are things that we do every day that have to do with money and have to do with choices financially. There's earning money, spending money, saving money. There's managing money, and managing is like growing and protecting it both. There's like offense and defensive. Mm-hmm. And then there's giving money, having it be part of something bigger than ourselves, right? Being charitable or being outwardly sharing, with our money. So there are several behaviors that we do. Did I answer your question?
No, you're in there. That's for sure.
Yeah. So it's all these activities and all these behaviors, and it's having this mindset around each one of them. So, for example, if we're go back to the beginning, earning money, you got to have some. It has to come into the household, come into you before you can delegate or do anything with it. So when the money comes in, you can have a mindset about, well, I'm just going to kind of get by. I'm just surviving. I'm not thriving, right? I just need to have enough to cover the bills. That's all my parents ever had. So why would I want more? Who do I think I am to be wealthy, right? So it's the mindset. You can have that mindset, or you can have a mindset of there's plenty. In fact, the more that comes to me, the more I can share and make the world a better place. The more that I can set my kids up for success and educate them and take them around the world and have them show how to do humanitarian work. It takes money to do that stuff, right? It takes money to help other people do things that are important to me, causes that I care about, helping people, giving them hope, giving them love, giving them health, right? It takes money to do those things. And there are a lot of people in the world that don't have it as good as we do. They don't have money. They don't have choices, maybe not even opportunity. So I think the more that we have, the more that we can earn, the better. We don't have to keep it all. We don't have to live in a big house on the top of the hill with a bright red car that goes really fast. I mean, those things are fine. But if you have the option to have a healthy, wonderful lifestyle, do the things that are important to you with people that you care about, and then money left over to help other people, I think that's a lot of why we're here. So it's a mindset about earning money. So that's an example of that. And you can do that in every category of financial activity and financial behavior.
So before I actually ask you the next question, though, I want to welcome folks who are just joining us. Thank you for being here. If you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. There on her website, there is a wealth of information and resources, which we're going to be talking about in a little bit. But I want to follow up what you said, and kind of seems that mindset seems to be coming up, right? So as we're talking about money reverence, where do we even begin, right? How do I even start? That's the question I think everybody's going to want to ask is, how do I even start?
Yeah. Honor and respect. Honor and respect your money. Money's a tool, right? It doesn't make you good and it doesn't make you bad. It's neutral. So if you gave a 3-year-old a hammer, maybe 5-year-old a hammer, they could build you something beautiful with that. They could get some nails and they could get some boards and they could build you a really great birdhouse, maybe even paint it, put it in the tree, right? So they could do something wonderful with that hammer, but they could also do a lot of damage. So it doesn't mean the child is good or bad. It doesn't mean the hammer is good or bad. It's just a tool. It's neutral. And money is the same way. You can use it for good. You can use it for bad. You see it all the time in the headlines. If you follow the news at all, I don't recommend it. But if you're doing that, if you have, any pulse at all on what's happening in the world, every day there are stories about people that got too much too soon. Celebrities or politicians or young people just doing crazy stuff, but they got a lot of money. And so that's maybe a misuse of the tool. That's kind of a judgment. But you can see people that end up hurting other people or hurting themselves with money or through the use of money. But then what you don't hear about so much, what you don't see every day, but it's happening, it's kind of a stealth movement of people doing great things with their money. They're sending food around the world, mosquito nets, drilling wells in Africa. They're making sure that people that have no health get it, making sure that people that have no access to not just healthcare, but food, like basic survival shelter. And it's not just around the world. When I was a kid, it was like, let's feed the kids in India. Let's feed the kids in China. Now let's feed the kids in our own backyard, in our own neighborhood. You see them, they need all of this. So there's plenty of work to do. There's plenty of need that we can fill with money or through the use of money. That's one thing that we all could do. It's good use of money, but those things are happening all the time. To my point, you don't see the stealth movement of good people doing these great things, not just around the world, but here. What you hear about is like the sexy stories of somebody who went rogue or went bad or did something like that. That's what the news wants to cover. But if you're not part of communities that are giving, that are sharing, that are doing charitable things, I recommend that you consider doing that. There's something so valuable about making a difference in the life of another person or another group of people or another community of people. And the happiest people that I know on the planet, and I know a lot of really, really happy people, a lot of them have money, some don't have a lot of money. But the happiest people are the ones that are givers. They're generous. They live life with an open hand, willing to help. And if they don't have a lot of money, they give their time, they give their wisdom, they give their resources. And I know some very, very wealthy people that give a crazy amount of money away, and they're very happy too. Maybe they have yachts and maybe they have beautiful homes around the world, but they're happy because they're sharing their wealth with others.
Excellent. That's very, very, very powerful. Since we're talking about resources, I think it's a good time now, folks, for you guys to learn a little bit more about JudyCopenbarger.com. If you're not following Judy, please do so. I want to take a little bit of time to talk about your website. Let's share with folks what are some of these resources that are available. I can tell you, folks, that there's two main ones that you guys have to really check out. And one is your book, Money, Truth, and Life. It's still kicking butt out there, which is fantastic. So if you haven't gotten your copy, you better do so. And you also have your online mastery program. But those are just two things I want to briefly cover. But I want you to talk about more about what else we can find, including those two items on there as well.
Yeah. So JudyCopenbarger.com, very original name. It's my name. Accountants and attorneys often have names that aren't very creative, but that's okay. It's easy to find, and you'll find me there. But what's on the site are some articles that will be helpful for you in every area of finance. You're going to find some videos. So I love to communicate stories that help people understand concepts that can be really daunting, really confusing, send you down rabbit holes. And I just have a knack for giving visual stories where people go, oh, now I get it. And that's from 40 years of doing this, of sharing stories where people go, oh, why didn't they explain it to me that way in school? How come I just now get it? So a lot of those videos are on there, also on YouTube. But at JudyCopenbarger.com, you can find a lot of that information. Also, there is a little green button there that sends you directly to the Money, Truth, and Life online mastery program. And that is a whole course that I designed. It's me sharing stories, relevant details about every area of finance, all the pillars of finance. So the legal aspects, like business entities, trusts, wills, powers of attorney. How do you use these documents? When do you need them? It goes through all the areas of insurance, all the areas of taxation, and you'd be surprised how many kinds of tax you pay almost every day. Not just income tax, not just property tax, the obvious ones you write checks for. There's a lot of taxes that you pay, and many, many ways to avoid those, or at least mitigate the impact of paying all that tax. It's kind of amazing. So there's tax stuff on there, cash flow, cash reserves. How much should I have in the bank? How much should I have in cash reserves? How much should I be saving? And if you have an uneven income source, maybe you're paid on commissions, or maybe you get bonuses, you have a little bit of income and then pop, a little bit of income and then pop. How do you even it out so you're not like rich one week and then it's like trying to figure out how to eat the next week?
Mm-hmm.
So all of that's in there. Cash flow, cash reserves, investments, the difference between a stock and a bond and an ETF and an ABC and an XYZ and all that. How do I know what I should be investing in? And all those options that I have at my job, the employer options that I have, how do I know which ones are right for me? And how much should I be putting in those, if any? HSAs, all of that. So all of that is in the online mastery program, Money, Truth, and Life. And you can click that on the little button, access the program at JudyCopenbarger.com. Now, right now, I have it set where for 7 days for free, you can watch any of the classes, attend any of those courses in the convenience and your bunny slippers at home. Right? So it's set right now. You can't lose. If you want to subscribe, you can and go through all of them. But what I recommend is if you have a long weekend or several days with lots of time, get out your notepad, get your pen and paper. I love pen and paper, and just watch a few of those classes. But make sure you have time to do it. If you want to do it free, because the subscription, I think it's less than $10 a month. It's not a big deal. But if you can get it all done free, like in several days, that would be a great way to get started.
I also would love for you to talk about your awesome book, because that ties right into it too. So folks, this is the book. You guys have to get a copy of it. And correct me if I'm wrong, but it's also available digitally, right? You can download it on Kindle.
Yeah. There's a Kindle version at Amazon. So Amazon.com, and Kindle, I think it's a few bucks. It's not a big deal at all. So if you like to read on your devices, that's a way to do it. If you like hard copies of the book, you can do that too. I'm not sure what the cost is, but I think it's maybe $20. I don't know, but it is awesome and life-changing. I had, I spoke at an event a couple of weeks ago that was an amazing group of people from all over the country. Amazing. And I got feedback from someone who bought a book. I like to, make them available when I speak. And this gal said it was just life-changing for her. And I always say that, like, there's life before this information and life after. And a lot of times it's like, oh, where were you 20 years ago? I wish I would have known that, because I've made that mistake. But just to hear her just pour into the stories and what she got from it and what she almost was going to do, and now she's not, financial decision she and her husband were about to make, and now they're not, because of what they read. And so we got to talk about that, and I got to give her just a couple little tidbits of a little deeper why. That would have been a mistake for them where they are in life. But just to hear her talk about all the things that she got from all those pillars of life, insurance things and legal things and investment things and real estate, leveraging real estate. And should I buy a car or lease a car? Should I sell the house I'm in and get a bigger one or a smaller one? Or should I buy another house? Or should I, pay cash or not? So there's so many decisions that we make all the time. And many of them are big decisions. When you look at the dollars that we're investing in some of these big projects, they're pivotal. And a mistake can take a long time to recover from. And so when I hear feedback like that, when I meet someone that, their life is now on a different track because they read the book and they internalized it, they studied it, and they made it theirs. And now they will make better decisions forever. And so will their kids and grandkids, by the way. I love that. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm here doing this and just putting the word out there. But Money, Truth, and Life, get the book, go to the course, watch what you can, learn what you can, and follow us here. I'm all over social media, and I've got this show every week, and we're always talking about something that's relevant. So please join us, follow us, be in the conversation, and get these little tidbits in your life.
Yeah, awesome. And I appreciate you sharing that. And folks, I'm going to leave you also with just a little teaser. When you start learning more about Money, Truth, and Life and start reading a book, you're going to remember something called the integrity wheel. Mm-hmm. You're going to have to get the book to find out what that is. And if you want to know a little bit more about it, look at some of the previous shows that we've done. Judy's actually gone through the integrity wheel over several episodes as well and what it's all about. But it's life-changing. And it's a game changer, not only personally, but in business as well, too. So you guys need to really take some time for yourselves and just explore. It's not going to cost you anything but time. So make sure that you invest some of that as well, too. So, Judy, I want to go back to talking about, we talked about, definitely the creating money reverence, honoring money. We talked about honoring the power of money. And also the last things we just discussed were how do we even start, right? So something that came up also that as a follow-up to that is when we're talking about how to get started, a lot of folks who are just getting started, even in the whole money process, whatever stage in their lives they're at, they don't even know who to talk to about this. So one thing that keeps coming up, and somebody just actually commented on here, is that who do you talk to about this? What are the things that you should be looking out? Because let's face it, there's a zillion financial planners out there. Everybody tells you something different. And if you're new to the game or you have no clue where, what to look for, you don't know any better. And you may be walking into the lion's den, not even knowing you're walking into the lion's den. So maybe if you can touch a bit on this as we're talking about how to get started, that would be very helpful for some of our viewers.
Yeah, that's a common question, and it's a great question. And I wish I had the perfect answer. You're basically asking, or this person is basically asking the question, how do I know who to trust?
Right.
Well, I don't know. If I go to the doctor, how do I know they're the right doctor for me? If I go to an accountant, how do I know they're the right accountant? If I go anywhere, if I go to the gym, how do I know I have the right trainer that's going to be a fit for me and give me the program that's going to make a difference for me? So it's the same thing when you're choosing a financial advisor to have a relationship. Most people in the financial world are sales. They're in sales. They don't come at you that way. They come at from, I'm just all for you. I work for you. No, they don't. Most of them work for a bank, or they work for a broker dealer, or they work for an insurance company, or a group of them, or they work for a corporation where they need to get billables. They need to bring in money. They need to bring in money for themselves. They need to bring in money for their group. So it's a naturally adverse relationship. There's a natural conflict of interest there. And it's really prevalent, when you're looking at investments, when you're looking at insurances, and even legal instruments. If you need legal entities for your business, of course, someone on the other side of the table wants you to do it sooner than later, because there's a fee involved, there's a cost involved, and they're going to benefit from that transaction. So anything that appears to be a service that is actually a transaction, you want to know that. You want to know how to kind of sniff that out. I'm not saying all those are bad. We need transactions. We need products. We need services. But you just need to always consider the source of advice when you're getting advice. It's kind of like you sit down with someone who is a hammer. Everything that you need is a nail, right? It's just hammer, nail, hammer, nail. So the solution, if you talk to an insurance person, the solution to every financial decision in your life is going to be an insurance product. And the higher the premium, the better, because they get paid based on the size of the premium, right? So that doesn't mean it's bad and you don't need it. I have a lot of insurance. I bought insurance from a lot of people. But I just want to know that it's the right product for me. It's the right amount. It's the right kind. It's the right premium. And how you know that comes down to educating yourself. So when the advice is naturally a conflict and it's not in your best interest, you'll know it. And that's what Money Truth does. That's why it's called Money Truth. So it's the truth about money. It's knowing enough to know what you need to know to go ask the right questions of your accountant, of your investment advisors, of your financial planner, of your, hopefully you have a strategic financial planner, of all these people, your attorneys, everyone who's serving you in the financial arena that has to do with your assets or your money or your finances. You want to know enough to know what to ask. Now, with that being said, the short answer to your question is some clues to finding someone who has that by obligation, by contract, that conflict of interest is mitigated substantially, or it's absent, is if you go to a CFP, that's a certified financial planner, they at least have to have an education. Now, it doesn't mean that their heart is right, or they're only going to serve you, or they're going to put you first. Everybody has to say they put you first, but they don't all. They don't all do that. So a certified financial planner at least has an education in all of these areas. So if they're giving you advice about some kind of protective instrument or some kind of investment instrument, they at least have a broad knowledge. They had to go to college and they had to learn a little bit about tax, a little bit about law, a little bit about investments and the market and the economy. So they at least can give you advice from a competency angle. It doesn't mean they're going to have no conflict there, but they're going to be competent. Now, a fiduciary might be an option for you. And a fiduciary is someone that by law has to give you advice that's right for you and prove why. So the AIF designation is something that you can look for. That's an accredited investment fiduciary. And so I have that as well. And it's very strict. So when I give advice to someone, even advice not to do something, and they're not hiring me even, if I give them advice, I have to write down all the reasons I gave that advice, everything we looked at, how we analyzed everything from a very broad perspective to get to that advice, and why it's right for them, as opposed to all these other things that we looked at and considered.
Wow.
And I have to prove that, I get audits regularly, and I have to prove why that advice was given and why it's best for them. So it doesn't mean that I couldn't give advice that's not good for them, but I better be able to back up any advice I did give, even if it's an advice to not do something. So that's something, and there aren't very many AIFs out there, but you can find, if you go online, you can find, one in your area. But a CFP, at least they're competent or have an education. AIF, they have, at least some standard of giving advice that's good for you. I think if you start with those two designations, and then there's other professional designations, an attorney, if you're doing estate planning, you want one that's all they do. If you went to a surgeon for brain surgery, you don't want a cosmetic surgeon, or a podiatrist. You want the guy with brains all day long, right? So same thing. You want to get a real good specialist. I call them subject matter experts. Whatever area of finance you're working in, if you're going to need an accountant, get a CPA, a certified public accountant, not just an enrolled agent or a bookkeeper. You probably, if you have some wealth or some complexity, you have properties or own a business, you probably need a CPA. Not everybody does, but you want to make sure that you're leveling up, you're hiring experts that work for you. If you can hire people for on a fee basis and there's no commissions involved, that's a great way to avoid that conflict of interest and the chance that you might be getting advice that, is maybe a little better for someone that's not you. So those are things that you could do.
Awesome. Thank you very much for answering that question. And I'm sure this is probably going to come up, even in more of our future episodes as well. But it's always a great reminder for folks who are currently on top of mind asking these things as we're talking about this. It puts their mind at ease where to turn to and how to do it. Mm-hmm. So with that said, I know we're coming to the tail end of the show, and we're always flying by. Time just flies when we're having fun. But it's time now for our very own our Money Truth Challenge. Yes. All right. I look forward to this.
Awesome. So today we're talking about money reverence and honoring and respecting money. And the challenge is very simple. The first thing, pen and paper, right? Get your pen, paper. All right. Yeah. So I want you to write down just two things, maybe a couple short lists. The first one, what am I doing currently that is evidence of me respecting money? How do I respect money? How do I honor money? If it was a person, what am I doing financially in all those daily behaviors and activities and mindsets? What am I doing that shows respect and honor to money? What am I doing that shows disrespect? How am I disrespecting money? How am I dishonoring money? Misusing it? Harming myself or others with it? How am I using that tool? And then the second part, what can I do to bring more respect and honor, more reverence to money in my life? What am I doing, good and bad? What can I do to take this money reverence to the next level? That's your challenge.
Folks, you've heard it. That's our Money Truth Challenge for this week. Make sure that if you're just tuning in, make sure you watch the beginning of the show. We've been discussing money reverence, and you really want to go back and listen to some of those key points. We're at the tail end of it. Make sure that we're here every Tuesday at 8 a.m. So make sure you tune in. If you're not following Judy, please do so at judycopenbarger.com. There, we talked about all of the wealth of resources available on her website. It just takes a little bit of your time. And like I said, the major secret is most of that stuff is free. So you got nothing but time to be able to make a difference in your life. Judy, any last parting words?
No, make it a great week.
All right, awesome. We'll see you guys next week. And again, make sure that you share out the stream. Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.